The graduate funding landscape consists of a robust selection of awards, grants, and fellowships that students can apply to throughout their career. Some awards are large, well-known national competitions, and some are smaller and less well-known, geared towards graduate students in specific research areas or disciplines. This funding landscape is unique to you, specific to factors such as your stage of graduate study, your research focus, and your academic preparation and background. In this workshop, we'll explore some best practices in planning for and navigating your own graduate funding landscape. The agenda will start with an overview to help you understand the system of grants, fellowships, and scholarships available to graduate students. Then we'll discuss ways to identify and prepare to navigate your own personal funding landscape. And finally, we'll look at some best practices for planning and applying for specific funding opportunities. The graduate funding landscape is complex and robust, consisting of both internal and external funding opportunities. In terms of internal funding, there are some graduate program funding opportunities available by department. The program director for each department will have those specific details. There are graduate school awards that may include opportunities for graduate and teaching assistantships, needs-based scholarships, merit or achievement-based scholarships and awards, conference travel funds, and off-campus dissertation development awards, as well as a number of fellowship competitions that are external but supported internally through various campus research offices, such as the Fulbright Program and National Institutes of Health Awards. These awards will have an internal deadline that is in advance of the published national deadline and will typically involve an additional on-campus committee review process. In terms of external funding opportunities, there is an extensive, robust network of scholarships, grants, and fellowships available to support your graduate study. External funding opportunities are primarily merit-based competitions. Scholarship competitions typically provide funding to support specific costs related to your graduate study, such as textbooks or aspects of your living expenses. Grant competitions typically provide funding to support your research-related expenses, such as travel to an archive or lab expenses, while fellowship competitions provide stipends to support your living expenses and sometimes academic costs as you write or complete your dissertation or thesis. These external grants and fellowships are funded by federal, state, and foreign governments, as well as by private foundations, nonprofit organizations, corporations, and other academic institutions in the United States and abroad. These funders are looking to support graduate students in a variety of ways, such as funding discipline-specific or interdisciplinary research, a specific research topic or theme, a specific stage of research study, a specific activity, or researchers or research within a specific population. This external funding landscape is complex and individualized, often dependent on your stage of graduate study. At the master's level, there are generally less external funding opportunities available than there are at the doctoral level, and these scholarship and grant opportunities are typically specific to your discipline. At the doctoral level, the award competitions are organized into three main categories based on stages of graduate study. Pre-doctoral, as well as early graduate study awards, are fellowships and grants designed specifically for students who are in the pre-qualifying stage of their graduate studies. Early graduate study fellowships tend to be highly selective, lucrative awards, providing multiple years of support that could include stipends, cost of education allowances, and dissertation research support. Funders of these awards are looking to support graduate students who demonstrate the best potential to succeed in their chosen course of study. Predoctoral research grants tend to be designed to support your early exploration of a research project that can include the collection of preliminary data, testing hypotheses, and building your research network in preparation for your dissertation project. Dissertation awards offer a broad range of funding opportunities, which can include small grants and short-term, long-term, and multi-year fellowships. Some opportunities are designed to offer support for the full duration of your dissertation project, while other awards may be specifically designed to support your dissertation research or dissertation writing. Postdoctoral awards are intended for young researchers in their final stages of mentored training. These fellowships fund projects in an established laboratory that will serve as the basis for your own independent research career. It is important to understand that your eligibility to apply for funding depends on the category, your current stage of graduate study, and your timeline for transitioning to the next stage of your study. For example, Anna is entering a PhD program in cultural anthropology. She has applied for the Ford Foundation Predoctoral Fellowship, which provides 3 years of support. Jose is an early first-year microbiology PhD student. He plans to apply for the National Science Foundation Graduate Research Fellowship, which would provide 3 years of financial support. And Joe is a third-year PhD candidate in biomedical engineering. They are applying for the National Institutes of Health Predoctoral Individual National Research Service Grant Award, which will provide 2 years of support. Research expectations vary between programs, and each new milestone in your journey represents unique funding opportunities to be explored. So now let's talk a bit about identifying and navigating your own personal funding landscape. The first question many graduate students ask is, what can I apply for? And this question is best answered after you have assessed your individual funding needs. Maybe you need financial support as a means to pay for your graduate school, or maybe you're looking for external funding in order to provide more flexibility in how you can conduct your individual research project. Either way, you will want to begin your assessment by outlining your funding plan for graduate study. You'll want to plot out the number of years you will need to work on your degree, the type of activities that you will engage in year by year, and the types of expenses you will have associated with each stage of study, such as tuition, fees, and living and/or research expenses. Next, you'll include any funding sources you currently have as a graduate student. This may include a funding package provided by your graduate program, funding provided by your employer or government, external grants and fellowships, needs-based financial aid, and personal resources. While this plan may change over time, it is helpful to capture your current vision for your funding needs across your course of study. This will provide you a clearer picture of your funding needs so you can begin to think about ways to integrate applying for funding into your overall graduate career. Your search for funding should be guided by your project interests and needs. This next step will assist you in finding the best programs matched to your unique funding goals. It is never too early to start building a list of grant and fellowship opportunities that you can apply for across the various stages of your graduate study. You can begin by identifying some key funders who have the potential to support you over the next 5 to 10 years of your research career. This can include your graduate work, postdoctoral work, and your transition into the professoriate or industry. Focus on the big picture. Consider the major funders who support the kind of research that you will be pursuing, regardless of whether or not they have an award to support you right now at your current stage of study. Think ahead. Here are some tips for getting started identifying potential key funders. Talk to your faculty advisors or mentors about who funds their research, if it is similar to yours. Engage other graduate students in discussions about who they are applying to for support. Review the funders listed in the acknowledgments section of the books and articles that influence and align with your research interests. Join and investigate the professional societies in your chosen field of research, as you may find that these organizations offer small awards or scholarships. If your work is based in an archive, reach out to the archivist to ask who funds their grant program and inquire about any opportunities for funding support. And finally, use a grant and fellowship database to search for funders who list awards in your area of research, such as the Rutgers Grad Fund database or Pivot. As you develop your list, you'll want to learn more about each funder's mission and goals, as well as what types of research projects, disciplines, and activities they typically support. Moving on to step 3. After you have established a solid list of potential funders and awards, it's time to research each more deeply and finalize a list of awards that you will apply for this season. This will prepare you to craft a detailed plan for your proposal writing and overall application development. As you begin to plan, it is important to make note of the application cycle and timeline. Here are some tips for building your application development plan specific to timing. First and foremost, you will need to plan to apply for funding the academic year before you intend to use it. Funders can take between 3 to 6 months to make decisions about their award recipients, and it can take another 1 to 3 months to actually activate the award. You can expect the majority of application deadlines to fall between September and March annually. However, there are a few competitions that have more than one application cycle per year, so be alert for those. And finally, some competitions will have a pre-application deadline. This may be a step in the process requiring you to submit a letter of intent directly to the funder so they can plan for their applicant pool. Or it may be that you need to apply through your graduate school or the Office of Research and Sponsored Programs, which will mean that there is an internal deadline for your university to be met prior to the funder's application deadline. The workbook that accompanies this video provides suggested timelines for each component of the application development process. These suggestions can be adjusted based on the details of your specific funding application, the status of your project development, your individual reading, writing, and review style, and your level of experience and/or comfort level with applying for funding as a graduate student. Remember, successful proposal writers seek out feedback from a variety of readers. This means you will need to plan time into your schedule to manage the process of circulating your work, soliciting feedback, and then processing and refining your proposal based on this feedback. If you are new to this process of applying for graduate funding, you should plan to invest some time into drafting an application development plan. Templates are provided in the workbook shown here. And finally, with your plan in hand, you'll be ready to draft a strong, competitive application. Proposal writing is its own unique genre. Its goal is to make a compelling case to a funder for why they should support you and your research project. Each competitive award will have its own formulaic framework and culture of proposal writing determined by the funder and the norms within your area or discipline. All applicants will be expected to adhere to the same set of guidelines in order to ensure consistency of presentation in the applicant pool, so that the reviewers can easily access the specific pieces of information they need to evaluate your project and qualifications to do the project. Following the steps we discussed here for identifying your personal funding landscape and building your application development plan will set the stage for an easy transition into the actual work of applying for graduate funding. Good luck, and consider scheduling an appointment with the Rutgers Graduate School of Arts and Sciences Graduate Research and Grants Assistant if you feel you would benefit from some additional support and encouragement.